No, we're not.
We are. I can see it.
All I can see is waiting for. Just a sec. I'll punch in again. No, we're not. Oh, yeah, it is.
No, we are. I can see it.
Yep, I'm muting my mic. All I can see is waiting for. Just a sec. I'll punch in again. No, we're not. Oh, yeah, it is.
No, just working out the skiing.
Yep, I'm muting my mic. All I can see is waiting
So
for.
I will be mute. You can hear me because I'm talking through Discord, and Soph is streaming.
Again.
So if you can hear me,
oh, yeah, it is.
Just working out the skiing.
Yep, I'm muting my mic. All I can see is waiting.
I don't know if anyone can actually hear me at the moment. If you can hear me because I'm talking through Discord, and Soph is streaming. So if you can hear me,
oh, yeah, it is.
Just working out the skiing.
Yep, I'm muting my mic.
Chat so I can
all I can see is waiting.
I don't know if anyone can actually hear me at the moment. If you can hear me because I'm talking. Ah, there we go. Yeah, I can see myself. How bad is this now? So I think you have your stream open and your voice can be heard at the moment. I'm watching my stream again. Okay, no, I can't hear you. No, it's okay. It was my mistake. I had it right. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Yes, I know. I just realised I am live, and I'm just going. It's not copyright music. We're mostly making sure everything is working. I know if any of you can hear me on this. This is what I sound like. Surprise. I'm scary. I also don't like having dead audio. God. Okay, I'm gonna deafen so you can't hear me. My brain just working. How do I deafen? That's how I deafen. Alright, testing on in-world voice now. Hello everyone. I'm just making sure the stream can hear me, so there might be an echo. Testing on in-world voice now. Hello. There we go. Stream and you can hear me. This is always a bonus. We'll give everyone a few more minutes just in case other people can't make it, and we will also put out this stream thing. So I didn't realise I could schedule a stream. I'm a professional. As Cuthbert just pointed out, there is chimes. It kind of is a bittersweet moment as we are now at midnight UK time. Well, it means we're one day away from Leah's res day now. And those chimes was chimes that Leah made. So Leah will forever echo through Seagoshire when you hear those chimes. I'm about to just send out the last notice to make sure people know there's a stream, and we will get on along the way then. Okay, hello everyone. I think this may be a good time to start. I know a few people have been held up with the winter storms in Second Life. Not in Second Life, in real life. I tend to... So if I make any weird jokes at the moment, it's because it's awkward for me. I've never been good with emotions. And, it's always been one of those things. So I have written a very long speech, and I've got everyone's stories who couldn't make it. So first off, we have a... What's it called? We have a batting order, the British will term for it. So first big speech from me, then we will hear from our lovely... He's got rector above his head, but I always call him a vicar. Cuthbert. He is one of the kindest men I know in Second Life. And then I will read out the stories of people who couldn't make it, and I will start inviting people up who have stories of Leah. For those who want to tell a story of Leah, please message me so we can call your name and that you're not forgotten. Because I would hate to forget anyone. I know a few of you are here who want to tell a lovely story about Leah. No need, you can voice if you'd like, but if you don't want to voice, text is fine. We've got the stream set up so people can read the text. Way too much planning went into this stream. As you can see behind me, we have Leah's memorial, and every 10 minutes that little cut will change, because Leah never stayed in one avatar. She loved to play around, and it was awesome. So I'm gonna start the speech when everyone is ready, because I am rambling a lot at the moment. It is all written down. I planned quite a bit, seemingly. So, let's begin. I would like to welcome you all to this emotional occasion. I've named it Stories of Leah, or as her full name was, Amalia Illios, that I will 100% get wrong, because I always had a massive trouble struggling with her name. One time I was on a interview with someone, and she asked who the hell Amalia was. She said that Amalia sounded really cool though, so she didn't take too much offense. But she did give me this audio clip to make sure that I always get it right.
Amalia Illios.
Have no clue if any of you heard that. And if you did and you're watching the stream, you have no context for about 5 minutes. I, of course, called her Fluff. This was down to her very frizzy hair of her avatar that I would always say was perfect for her. So I will admit I am incredibly nervous about being a voice for this. Second Life is for those who want to escape real life, and my voice is breaking a lot of people's viewpoints of me. As everyone knows, I am proudly trans, and my form does not match the voice, what always makes it hard to voice in Second Life. But the friendship I had with Amalia, transcended Second Life and became real. These feelings I feel at the moment are very real. These are real tears I've been crying for the last 2 months. These are real stresses that I've been going through by trying to make sure her legacy is saved. And it is her real family I have been dealing with to make sure her legacy is safe. On the 10th of November 2025 at 9:30 PM Central European Time, we lost Amalia Illios. And life has not been the same since. I met Leah on the 6th of July 2018. She had previously messaged me wishing me a happy birthday that year. And, of course, to let me know that Sandy had decided to break. Her scripts was acting up. So, birthday message, broken loco. Standard stuff for me in Second Life. I had reached out to her in July, what was way after my birthday, asking if she knew who made the England flag latex catsuit that she was wearing. Turned out she had kit bashed it together and made it herself, and so that's how we started talking. We both ended up watching the World Cup together in Second Life. She, with her magnificent scripting knowledge, she had started streaming on a media on a prim the World Cup. 100% illegal, but that was Leah. She didn't. If she wanted something, she would do it. Quickly, about 2019, she started helping with the railway. She was the one who I went to when I wanted a tracking map for the locos, and lo and behold, she blew me away with the tracking map, making it that it was textures, not child prims going up and down. So it was single prim. In 2020, I reached out to her and said, "You're good with Blender. Would you be willing to help me with some passenger seats for a new carriage I'm working on?" She said yes, of course, because she's one of the kindest people, what we will get onto. So, along comes March 2020, lockdown happens, but we start working on the carriage together. I start doing my usual thing, I assemble the prim models, and wait to do mesh, and then, but something different happened. Instead of me meshing those prim models, she came in, exported them out of Second Life, refined them in Blender, and imported them, and I would wake up the next day to seeing a really nice mesh version of what I'd done, but a little more detailed. As the build went on, she continued to add stuff to it. She said, "You need some fancy mirrors." So we got some fancy mirrors where she did a lovely specular bump map to add the fancy ZR monogram. That was something I had never asked for, but I absolutely adored it. I'm having to work out where I am on my speech. And of course, the luggage racks. I never would have been able to make organic looking netting, but Leah quickly did it. And every time she sat in that carriage, she would always say it felt like she was riding in a first class carriage, and she was so proud of how she did it. From 2020 on, we just worked together constantly. There are so many projects on the railway that have her scripting and input on. Token machines, oh god, there's so many. I can't list them all. 2022 came along, and we started jokingly talking about a website. And Leah then, a few weeks later, had quickly bought ZanyZenRailway.com, the domain, and started working on the website, got it hosted, and today we have a website. Well, we don't. That's a really depressing part of it. We're working on that. But without that website, I don't think the railway would be what it is today, because it hosts a few bits and bobs that are really important to the railway's operations. 90% of the time, she would sneak up and cuddle me for hours. Even without posable furniture, she would just use the hug and kiss that HUD. And at the moment, that is what I'm missing the most. Just that person coming to me and hugging me for hours, just talking about nothing and everything. Of course, when 2023 happened, before it was going to be a normal year, I thought it was going to be the year of a load more projects, a new steam locomotive, of course, named after Leah, and then Leah was admitted to hospital in February with a suspected heart attack, and it turned out that condition she had mentioned to me years before had gotten to the point where she needed oxygen to just live. So she went through a lot just being in hospital. It was then I started deciding that when I go to bed I would emote cuddling up with her on the message system we used outside Second Life, what was Mastodon, and just act like I was a bunny, making sure she was warm and wasn't on her own. I came up with elaborate storylines of these rabbits that I had sent to, I won't say where she's from, but to her country of origin, and started digging through and said that they were digging through the foundations, setting up a little railway, and were going to start bringing her pizza. As Leah would call it, Za, with an exclamation mark. One morning, she went to a window and looked out across the lotments and saw bunnies. She instantly messaged me saying, "I just saw your little bunnies you sent," and that just spurred on the stories. In March, my birthday, she knew I had been looking. I had a pink stuffed bunny in real life, but she had found a chocolate brand that was near and dear to her I called it Godiva. It is actually pronounced Godiva. I also found out this was a very posh chocolate brand from one of my mother's friends. She quickly sent me a gift card for my birthday, what gave me enough to get the bunny from Godiva. This bunny quickly became named Leah Bunny, who then became another part of the story I would tell Leah. Because one day I took a picture of the bunny looking at my pizza, and Leah went, "I loved how it looked like Leah Bunny was trying to steal your pizza." So I started writing up little stories when I'd send the picture of my food with Leah posed with it. Then later, thanks to Isuf, I got a little bat called what got named Batty. Leah very much became very attached to Batty, the bunny, and Leah, saying that Leah loved Batty. So those two are very mischievous. If you're one of those people I send those pictures to now, you know how mischievous those two are. In April that year, she caught COVID and was told if she needed to be intubated, she would die. It was then she opened up, letting me know her real life name. Her nephew was told if she was to pass, I would get notified, and that if she was to pass, I was to get her bear, Zamel. Thankfully, 2023 passed and she didn't. Late 2023, we celebrated her getting her lung transplant. She went up into the beautiful mountains of her country and was feeling so good she decided to take a trip to Austria. Sorry about that. I knew it as soon as I heard it. Just going to mute the Alexa. So, she took decided to take a trip to Austria. And I suddenly woke up to pictures of Mozart's home and other beautiful signs that only Leah would have taken pictures of. As 2024 came around, she started seeming more herself. Coming in Second Life nearly every day and cuddling, just enjoying being healthy. I received that day, that birthday of 2024, one of the most beautiful cards made by her. And in that card was a message saying that if I hadn't constantly messaged her, constantly sent those images, that she would have likely not survived through hospital. Me giving those messages to her and making sure that her friends in Second Life and relaying her messages from people in Second Life to her really kept her going. Her friends were her life. Leah was one of the kindest people in Second Life that I've ever known in these 7 years. If you showed her something that you was thinking of buying, 9 times out of 10, you suddenly ended up with that product in your inventory bought for you. When me and Leah once was doing some railway decorating together, a friend of mine showed up, and we started hanging out, and Leah quickly nudged me and IM and goes, "I think I bought them a load of stuff when they were a newbie." And then 10 minutes later she pulled up the chat log from 10 years ago, saying how they met. And this was not an isolated case. Leah, if you was kinky and you was new in Second Life, you usually would have met Leah. She would always be the kindest person you could ever have met, even if she had barely known you. This extended to the railway. She would always keep donating random numbers to the railway. One time I would wake up, look at my transaction history, have an exorbitant massive number of lindens, and it turns out there was random amounts, so I would then look at the donation logs boxes and see that she had set every donation box to a random number that was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. I even have a picture she sent me of her bottom with the number 33333 next to it. She gave me the confidence to speak, to type how I talk. For a long time I really struggled. In the early days, a troll said I spoke like a 5-year-old, and Leah knew this and constantly told me I spoke perfect, and that if I did a blog for the railway it sounded like the bunny, and that was not a bad thing. Nearly every week she would send me a YouTube channel called Usagi. I'm butchering this name. It's Japanese for rabbit. Electronics. The guy who ran this YouTube channel would look after bunnies, rear them from babies if they were found, or foster them. Every episode he would release would always have a video of his latest bunny or a baby bunny. She would always send me that link to the end of the video, so I had constant bunnies. All the way to our final weeks. Even though English wasn't her first language, Leah once said she loved playing with words. Words like morn to noon, chickpeas with extra Zs. These were all words me and her just randomly would come up together to pass the time. She always claimed she wasn't a rock star, even though I would tease and claim that she was famous, because when I first met her, I fangirled her so much. I think I could go on and on about how kind she was, but that was what made her that rock star to me. An example of the kindness. One birthday, she literally gave me a gift card just so I could get latex in real life. We were sailing down the channel to Belisaria, and just on my birthday, I suddenly get given a gift card, what she had replicated from the real life one. It was just perfect. I would constantly get these random little gift cards from her, where she had replicated them from real life. For a long time, and I think a lot of you will have known this, I believed she was Greek. I even introduced her to a friend as my Greek best friend, and she never corrected me. Only after, when I translated what was in her profile from Greek to English, that it said not Greek in Greek. That just sums up Leah, the person that has such a weird mischief about her. So I think it's now time to hand over to Cuthbert, because I've been talking and it's rambling mostly. Rambling too long. Cuthbert will be speaking in text, so I will mute my mic. So Cuthbert, if you come to the podium and say your words for me, please. And Leah.
going to arrive is the Somdari passenger service on platform 2 and calling it Armland. The Somdari passenger service has arrived on platform 2 and will be leaving soon. For passengers disembarking here, there is a museum and the ZZR gift shop.
Thank you, Cuthbert, for those such kind words and that beautiful prayer. So now I'm gonna have to read the messages, sadly, of people who couldn't make it today due to real life or that insane snowstorm that the US has currently decided to have. The first message is from TC. And I'm going to read this in her words. Well, I'm not going to do an impression. When I was made homeless, she made a room for me with a lock. So I set it to my home. It turns out she didn't tell me what the code was, and that she had made it into an RLV zone. So I had to work out the code while locked in the room every time I TP'd home. I loved it. It was a fun little challenge because she periodically changed the code. But one day I worked out what the system was. It was a numeric keypad with letters on it. And the code always spelled things like adorable TC or TC is lovely. From Scarlett. She's the only reason I'm in Second Life. If it wasn't for her pictures, I wouldn't be here. And now finally, Trixie. When Zen told me of this amazing tribute to Leah, I really wanted to be here. Unfortunately, real life prevents me from being here at the time of this memorial. But I just had to say something, mostly because of who she was, how she was, and the amazing kindness, generosity, and loving woman she was. Oh, and of course, one of the sexiest people I had ever met. I can pretty much attest for the fact that I would not be here in Second Life now, or on DeviantArt, if it were not for her. So let me share a couple of my favourite stories with you, some of which are chronicled on DeviantArt, because I am 100% serious about this. They had made me do it, and more on that later. When I first came to Second Life, I was lost. Pretty much in real life as much as Second Life. I had just moved back to a very conservative town, and I didn't know anyone in the lifestyle, so I was socially isolated. Second Life seemed like the solution, a popular one of a lot of people, apparently. Can anyone else relate to this? Anyway, I was still trying to figure out what Second Life was. Besides wanting to socialise with people like me, or who shared my interests, I wanted to roleplay. And one of those places I discovered, the Dead End Sim, which was like an interactive soap opera. An interactive soap opera stylized novel. It was dynamic, and the opportunities to play were obvious. My time at Dead End was wonderful for the most part, and I did meet some wonderful people there, but the sim was a little bit cliquish at times. And there was this rule: once your storyline ended with your character being kidnapped, you were out of commission until escape, if that was part of your storyline, or you were rescued. So until the rest of the players you were interacting with showed up, you were pretty much stuck. But you could leave the sim and do other things, and that is how I met Leah. So one day, I went to one of the sims I frequented. There was a fun sim called Stonehaven that became the BDSM and DNS social circle where people hung out and socialised, and sometimes played. Well, despite my talkative nature, it's hard for me to start a conversation. I'll sit back and wait, even if I'm dying to participate. However, on this day I was so down I didn't feel like I could expand the energy if someone I didn't know started to talk to me in main chat. But I was too lonely not to, at least. Sorry. Reading's not my strong suit, so I will just lost my spot. But I was too lonely not to at least be where I could hear people or read people. So I raised a box to sit on and raised it high in the sky, but still in range of main chat, so I could listen or read. If I didn't know anyone in range, it was my hope that someone, a true friend, would log on to talk or spend time with me. I say true friend because we all have those people who want to be friends, so you accept the request and then never say anything to them ever again. You know, an acquaintance. Maybe Lindens need to create an acquaintance list. For those people that keep true friends separate, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rant. Back to the story. Anyway, on this particular day, I needed the kind of friend who checks up on me, invests time on me, and needed someone to take my mind off real life. I was very lonely that day, and none of my true friends had logged on. So the whole box in the sky thing was my version of sitting in the room with people, not too close, I guess. I know, silly, ironic. Well, silly is my nature, and irony is my middle name. But you couldn't sit in the corner with Leah. That is, unless she tied you up there. Winks. She would always start a conversation with me, usually about the clothes I had on, because I tried to reflect my real-life clothing here in Second Life, which was practical and casual. In other words, pretty stylish, boring, and not even overly sexual or fetish. But if you were friends with Leah, you were never alone. She never let friends be alone. Even when you were separated, she would always show up. But I didn't know her yet. My Second Life, and honestly my real life, was about to change forever. Because on that particular difficult afternoon when my real life was a chore, Dead End was dead, and everyone involved in my specific storyline and my true friends were offline, this lovely female avatar with permed hair, glasses, and a modest green top, blue jeans, and sneakers flew up and IM'd me. Hi. It was Amalia Illios. We've all got those. We still do. We dread the instant IM from unseen people wanting a virtual roll in the hay, or begging for a mistress, or even soliciting lindens. Being a newbie at the time, I didn't know about these annoyances. Sorry, dry throat. And I timidly responded. Well, I had no idea that the blessings I had just opened the door to, which was Pandora's box at the time. But I would never trade any of those experiences for the world, real or virtual. But in true Leah fashion, she raised a box beside me, sat down and began chatting. It surprised me, because here is the person I've never liked talk. Here is this person I've never talked to, sitting in this bizarre place that I choose to talk to me. No one does that. On the one hand, I was like, oh no, because who does that? No one sits down to take time to get to know you. Well, almost no one. But it didn't take long for me to figure out she was special. You see, we sometimes forget there are real people behind our virtual puppets, and the conversations we have was the typical get to know each other stuff. My profile was minimal, but I had enough to put enough brain tripping up again. Sorry. My profile was minimal, but I had put enough into to pique her interest. Because we know Leah would help anyone, and I was new. So friendship and Second Life guidance began. However, after a few weeks of these little sky chats or wherever our paths would cross, which was usually Stonehaven or Snark, we would talk about anything and everything, but ultimately end up discussing real lifestyle interests, fetish icons. One of hers was Dieter von Teese, and I shared one of mine, Darla Crane. Real life bondage gear, of course, and then the conversation would lead towards Second Life fashions and bondage gear. But it was more than just talking, and I don't mean romance, although I was smitten with her. Who wouldn't be? I mean, no one warned me how quickly real emotions could stir here. We all know how internet relationships go fast, flourish, or be disastrous. So I intend to try and keep shields up. But it doesn't work with some people. You just mesh like puzzle pieces. And Leah was very intriguing. And Leah was a very intriguing puzzle in her own style. As I'm sure you would all agree, but it was a puzzle you wanted to keep putting together. You couldn't just walk away from her. I'm just going to take a break, drink some, because my throat is tickling and I want to cough. Sorry about that. That tickle was really bringing tears to my eyes. Thankfully she had put a gap. Now, warnings as we go forward. This is my third or fourth edit, because there is so much to share about Leah. So I'm really cutting this down. So if you made it this far, you are probably saying, this is the short version? I hate to see the long version. But yes, I trimmed this down a lot. So I really abbreviate just a few of my favourite experiences and stop, because I'm sure you want to listen to other people's stories. But I may share a few on my DA page, because Leah made me do it. I promise, I'll explain later. So maybe check out sometime. You can ask then more about it. Now, moving on. You see, we all measure people to a degree. And one of the true tests of friends is the level of sincere love and support. A person free gives without asking for anything in return, and the amount of time and attention someone freely invests in you. When you encounter someone's avatar in Second Life, for example, are they assuming a character in a virtual cosplay, or are you talking to a real-life person behind the puppet? Well, with Leah, it was always just Leah. She was the real thing. Leah was genuine. No matter what shape or outfit she chose to manifest herself in. When she logged on, she never became a character. She never role-played. At least not with me. Well, that's not true, I suppose. There was that one time I talked her into being a fairy godmother. Talked her into a fairy godmother outfit for a photo series I shot on DeviantArt. And now that I think about it, she wasn't even role-playing then either. Being a fairy godmother was Leah's personality for many of us. So Leah was the character. It was always Leah we interacted with every time she was here. She was herself, and it was always more than enough. And we can all agree she was a character. All capitals there. That was me. She was a rock star, and now if she was here, this would be the point where she would laugh and this would be the point she would laugh just before accessing my RLV folders and locking me in a gag for an hour or more. But she would chuckle, agree about the character part, I'm sure of it, and deny the Rockstar title, hence the gag. Leah was a character. She was unique, and sometimes in a way that was foreign to some people. But if you knew her, you loved that character, and you loved her, because she was so genuine, always sincere, always real. She never pretended. She never pretended. If she had an alt with another name, she told you who she was, and she was Leah. Even if she spoke about herself in the third person when those avatars were logged in at the same time. And she did have alts to do amazing things when she did. And she did have alts to do all the amazing things she did. Which brings me to my second and most favourite story about Leah, because it was one of her alts, or clones, that literally kidnapped me in Second Life and held me captive for 2 weeks in her special basement. It's where I learned that we were not role-playing, and for the first time I realised there was a difference. She was being my friend, and not just my friend, but a friend who cared, and in her special way, She wanted to take care of her friend, spend special time with me and teach me something. One of which, role-playing, was not the same thing as interacting with people here. And it was the only way to enjoy Second Life. But she didn't know what... But what she didn't know was how she actually... Tongue-tied again. Trixie has written a really beautiful thing, and I feel like I'm not giving this any justice, so I'm very sorry, Trixie, if you're watching this back over. I'm just going to try and re-find my place. This is a dyslexic's nightmare, reading publicly from a script. Or a story. But what she didn't know was how she was actually meeting a very important need in my real life by allowing me to be me while she interacted with me through our virtual puppets. I couldn't have my lifestyle at that time, but she inadvertently helped me learn how to manage the void and not be so lonely. I was looking for someone, anyone really, to interact or just spend time with. And it was one of those times when you couldn't find anyone you knew. I went to Estate Obscura, which was a place for socializing, flirting and gaming. And greedy. Well, no one was there. I wasn't paying attention to my friends list, and no one was in IM with me, which was common occurrence back then. And I see on my little radar HUD pop up the name Amalia Illios, 23 meters. When I looked for her, I couldn't see anyone. Not one avatar soul. The distance kept changing. 20 meters, 15 meters, 8 meters, but still no one was there. I sent an IM, no answer. I was so new to Second Life, I thought I had done something wrong. And I gave up thinking it was internet problems or something. We all knew Second Life can be weird, so I just kept moving around the sim, and suddenly my bondage gear started attaching to me by itself. Firstly, Maria's Shobari ropes applying themselves, and I immediately was tied in a box tie and leashed. But who? No one was there. My legs. Then a panel gag. Not just any panel gag, because there were not many good panel gags in Second Life back then. Something I had complained about. Something I had complained about during one of our Skyward box chats weeks earlier. Something she corrected, but that was another story. Anyway, there I was, bound and gagged, and leashed with the opposite end of the leash floating in mid-air to my invisible captor. That's when I get the typical Leah giggles, hi. She had somehow rendered herself invisible and stealthily approached me while I was alone, and really snuck up onto me to capture me unaware without warning. Now if you're reading this, probably saying, yeah, so what? She was just using an alpha, and you're probably right. Well, here's this. That was over 15 years ago. RLV was new, clunky, and the only really brilliant people had mastered or understood it. And we know she was brilliant. And as stupid as that sounds, I was afraid of RLV and didn't trust many people. So the one time I put it on and try and figure out, because no one was around, so I could try things safely, she found me, but there was when it starts getting interesting. Because when she materialized, she was Leah. Then she cloned me. Cloned me exactly. Even down to the little heart face tattoo I had on my face at the time. I hadn't told her where to get these, how to adjust my shape. I didn't share the numbers. It was just Leah. She's brilliant. Remember? She had used an alpha to hide her body. I suppose, again, 15 years ago, people. I did not wear a collar, but she knew that I had a relay on because she was the one who gave it to me. So she magically applied my gear, and that was it. She had me. She not only had me, she kept me for 2 whole weeks as a prisoner in her sim. Despite numerous legitimate escape attempts, I would nearly get free and sometimes nearly make it off her sim or out of her basement or where she had me. But she would eventually log on, spend some time with me, reset the restraints, start the escape... the restraints to make me start my escape attempt over again, snatching victory to keep me helpless. Sorry, throat again. She never set timers the entire time she had me. You see, back then I was able to log on every day for long periods, and I knew her schedule when she slept. So if I was to escape, I knew I had to accomplish it before she logged on. So I had limited opportunities to work out my restraints, and I honestly tried, but she made a point to be there, invest time to take care of me, and keep me helpless. So I never managed to get loose. It was one of those most amazing Second Life experiences, and hasn't been matched to the date. I'm not even sure it can. Not the way people play here. I was totally stunned, but I had no idea what was to come. And I still look back in disbelief and entire 2 weeks where someone literally made time for me in such a special way. Audio okay? Sorry, I just saw the message. Is audio okay? Alright, I'm going to take that moment to quickly take another drink so I don't keep coughing. Sorry about that. Okay, drink has been... I hopefully got another 10 minutes in there before I start coughing. Where was we? But I had no idea what was to come, and I still look back on disbelief an entire 2 weeks where someone literally made time for me in such a special way. And it was a game to Leah, a wonderful, sexy, frustrating but loving game. She loved frustrating me and stumping me with her locks and traps. After the first week, it was clear I was being challenged, and I'm competitive, so I did my best to conceal my progress, trying to log on when she typically was asleep to escape. So one morning, I made the point to log on when she typically wasn't on, and I had like one move left and I could unleash myself from the anchor and slip out of her house. Well, she logged on in front of me as I was about to make that attempt. Just made some small talk. I didn't want to blow my plan, so I did nothing. Just talked. She announced she has to go and asked me, "You okay? Need anything?" Which I replied, "No, I'm fine." And she emoted a smile. We said our goodbyes, exchanged warm hugs and kisses, and then she said, "Oh, one more thing." That is the moment she reset all my strengths, and I receive an I am Amalia Illios. Ain't I a stinker? And then she locked. I was dumbfounded. She'd been toying with me the whole time. Which brings me to the summary conclusion, because there are many little experiences that were contained in this 2 weeks that warm my heart. You see, most Second Life kidnappers typically don't have exit strategies, let alone a plan to do with people they are with altogether. Leah wasn't a Second Life kidnapper. Leah was just a force of nature. Leah was someone who truly and unselfishly gave her for herself. Time is a precious gift. You don't get that back when it's gone. So when someone invests time with you, dedicated time, they are special. And she was. But Leah's exit strategy wasn't exactly an exit strategy. Here's where Leah made me do it comes from. During the 2 weeks, Leah stoked a little fancy I didn't really know I had. I mean, I loved clothes, I loved to look nice. Dare I say most girls love the idea of being a model. But we just can't, or we don't. Well, during those 2 weeks I was held captive by Leah. I was her virtual dress-up doll. She would purchase outfits and make me wear them. It was a secret turn on of mine I never really shared with anyone in Second Life before. But something I frequently was required to do where I lived my real life DNS friends. The Dominant would often decide what I wore in group meetings, much like a theme. We were to dress a certain way, but sometimes a Dominant would provide the outfit for the submissives, which I always found sexy. And when you consider submissives are supposed to please their dominants, it was an act of obedience satisfying their wishes. So for Leah to do this in Second Life was amazing. I fell for it every time. Every time she wanted me to dress a certain way, she sent me something to wear, which was often, and I would raise my concerns with her spending lindens on me. Another quick side story. I love shoes. Like, who doesn't, right? Well, she sent me some very expensive, at the time, N-course shoes. But this time I paid her back. Well, she not only objected, but she sent me double my money back. So being competitive and a little bratty, I sent that back plus 250 lindens extra. Well, she sent me 2,500 lindens back, and I can do this all day, can you? So I gave up. Back to the story. So it was wonderful being her private model and dress-up doll. And what I didn't realise was she was taking pictures and posting them to DeviantArt. I hadn't heard of DeviantArt, and I didn't know anything about it. At least not until the last day when she dressing me up in something similar to Darla Crane would wear. And bind me for photos, and then she told me, if you want to see these, you're going to have to make a DeviantArt account, because you can't just browse these. They've been browse these, they will be marked mature. So here it is. Leah made me do it. Leah made me go to DeviantArt, make an account, and that was 15 years ago, and I've been there ever since. Now the last photo she took of me in that outfit was the end of my 2 weeks in her luxury basement prison. She'd made me struggle out of the bondage to go free, so I exited that prison, but she kindled a secret bondage model fantasy. I had been trapped there ever since. But she kindled that secret bondage model fantasy, and I have been trapped there ever since. I'm convinced Leah knew what she was doing all along. I mean it. Leah was brilliant. So all you know. I mean it was Leah. She was brilliant, so you all know she knew. Well, I could go on, but there are others who probably have more amazing and special stories to share about Leah. If you made it to this point, I thank you for taking the time to read this little glimpse into my memories of Amalia Illios. I could say something really cliche here, but I'll refrain from it. However, I do want to leave you with something I learned from my real life and my Second Life. It will sound precious and cliche, but it's a cold, hard fact that none of us like to think about, but we really need to. So here it goes. Time is precious. We all heard that. But seriously, y'all, think about it. Time is the one thing we lose and never reclaim. It's beyond our control. So yes, use it wisely. But this is what I want to say. Please appreciate those people in your lives who decide you are worth their time. Because when they choose to spend it on you, that is a gift they give you that they can never reclaim. If you waste their gift when it is gone, it's gone. But if the time they give you is cherished and treated with your attention to them, when you give it to you, it will leave you both with the most precious memories. That will ultimately become their legacy to you, and your legacy to them. make the most of your time together. Because we know when our time will run out. Because we never know when our time will run out. Leah, wherever you are, my dear love, we miss you, we love you, but from the bottom of my heart and my soul, thank you for the time you shared with me. I cherish it, I cherish the memories, and I cherish you. Love and hugs, everyone. I truly wish you a long life, warmth, and prosperity. With love, sincerely, Trixie Hobble. So that is everyone's messages who could not make it. Who... I know Clover wants to come up. Is there anyone else who has a story of Leah they would like to share in text or voice before I start asking people up? You can say in local chat. Okay, and we will go on to Clover, who was one of Leah's closest friends. Clover, if you come up to the podium, it is your spot now. But we'll be speaking in text, so watch local chat.
train to arrive is the Somdari passenger service on platform 2 and calling at Armdag. The Somdari passenger service has arrived on platform 2 and will be leaving soon. For passengers disembarking here, there is a museum and the ZZR gift shop.
Thank you, Clover, for sharing those truly beautiful words and that lovely story. And thank you, everyone, for coming. If there's no one else who wants to tell a story of Leah, we will close out now by saying that without these stories, I don't think Leah's memory would go on for long. But because we have shared them with everyone here today, Leah's memory will continue going on for years to come. I don't know if it's a religious part or just part of the culture of Mexico, but I love the idea if you remember someone, they will continue in the afterlife having a good life. Lastly, I want to thank my partner Firefly for hosting the stream and putting up with my insanity for the last few months. I'd like to thank Isuf. Without her texting me in those first few mornings, making sure I woke up and didn't rot in bed, I don't think I would be here now. And of course, thank you to Lexi. Even though you are not the most talkative person, sometimes that is very frustrating. You are there when I need it. And that is what counts. You and E will be together helping keep the Zany Zen Railway website going for the years to come. And of course, thank you, Cuthbert, for your beautiful words and speech. These stories, from now, will be posted as note cards and left in a book on Leah's monument that is beside us for the rest of time to come. I will make sure this monument stays here till the end of Second Life. And maybe if I ever become a brickworker, make it in real life. As you can see, the monument has Greek on it, and I feel like before we end this, I will translate the Greek for you. At the bottom, we have mostly harmless. This is a quote from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that Amelia has on her DeviantArt profile. I figured, let's follow the trend of where she puts stuff in Greek in her profile, doesn't translate it, and we leave it as an Easter egg for people to translate themselves. And then, of course, the top bit, on the windmill itself. Well, I will quickly get the actual translation for the eye cape. Sorry about this. It's a famous epitaph from a Greek writer, and the Greek writer is on the Greek Euro notes, if I believe. In Leah's own words, best epitaph ever. I hope for nothing, I fear nothing, I am free. And with that, this memorial will continue to always change. As you can see, the little figure in there has changed every few minutes to make sure people know that Leah was a woman of many faces. And the winds will always change in Second Life, but this memorial will stay here forever. I thank you everyone again for coming. I know not everyone here knew her too well, but I know she would appreciate everyone being here now. Thank you everyone, and I hope you all stay safe and keep Leah in your hearts for a little longer.